A very good evening to you. I hope you are all doing well. And in today's class, I thought of beginning the third unit in your syllabus. That is, I think you have one topic is finished. That is Michael Bakhtin's discourse in the novel, and the next topic is Michel Foucault's What is an Author. So before we go to the essay, I want to um, discuss or give introduction to Michel Foucault. So let us see what Michel Foucault is and what are his works and um, what are his ideas regarding philosophy and also and other epistemology. Okay, epistemology is one of the branches of philosophy, um, along with logic, okay, and other branches of philosophy. So what is the contribution of Michel Foucault, and what is his life, and what are his major works, and what are his leading ideas? That is what we will be looking into in this class. So let me share the screen for you. It's a Word document. I'll be mailing or I'll send the Word through WhatsApp. You can download and just read and take a few points which you can write as introduction to the writer or critic in your essay, which you will write in the examinations. Okay, let me share. Yeah, there it is. So I hope the screen is visible to you. So Michel Foucault is a structuralist as well as post-structuralist critic of the 20th century. Okay? And he is from France, and he was a historian also, psychologist, philosopher, okay, and literary critic. And he has had a strong influence not only in philosophy but also in a wide range of humanistic and social scientific disciplines. So whatever theories that he brought out, and whatever research he did in different aspects, probing into the ideas philosophically, historically also, he contributed very much to the humanistic and social scientific disciplines. So, what are the highlights of his work? Let us see. So, he's born in France, of course, in October 15th and 1926. As a student, he was very brilliant, but he was psychologically tormented. Yet later he became academically established during 1960s, and he held a series of positions in the reputed universities of France. And also he was, elected to the ultra prestigious College de France, where he was a professor of the history of systems of thought until his death. So, though he was psychologically tormented from his childhood, he never left or he never felt low, and he pursued his studies, and he became eligible for the great prestigious award in France, being the professor of history of systems of thought until his death. See, if you go into his ideologies or his thoughts, we will see that they are very much interdisciplinary. Okay, from 1970s, he was very much active politically also, and he was the founder of Group D Information Surveillance Prisons, and often protested on behalf of the marginalized groups. So the prisoners are oppressed or suppressed in a society. So he was the champion of these oppressed and suppressed people in the society. And he is the one who used to lecture frequently outside France, especially in the United States. And of course, as we have seen in the case of Derrida. And Foucault also is one of the influential figures in the 20th century, especially to the later half of the 20th century, where his theories and books have influenced much research. Okay, and his post-structuralist ideas also have gone to question the power and the ruling class and how they exercise power to control or to suppress or exploit the ruled, that means the common people or marginalized sections, etc. And in United States, of course, he got an agreement to teach annually at the University of California at Berkeley. So such a great personality, but he became an early victim of AIDS and he died in 1984. So, in addition to works published during his lifetime, his lectures at the Collège de France, published posthumously, contain important elucidations and extensions of his idea. Actually, during his lifetime, Foucault did extensive research and has published from on different topics with great research and also great insights of thought, say taking from starting from the ancient world to the modern world also. So he actually has researched or gained knowledge in many areas. Okay, and after his death, of course, some of his disciples published his lectures, and his lectures also contain great references of his ideas, and they provide us the extensions of his ideas and how his ideas were very crucial in the development of the post-structuralist thought across the world. Okay, because of the fields of study that Foucault was into, we may get whether he is a philosopher or not, and because he is basically based in history and of course in psychology also. So his academic formation was in psychology and its history as well as in philosophy also. So that is why history of the systems of thought, that is what he studied, that was his academics, and then he was into the philosophy also. And his books were mostly histories of medical and social sciences. He developed an insight into the historical studies of the different areas of epistemology in philosophy as well as in psychology, etc. And he had passion for literary and political theories also. Whatever are his academics or branches of studies, almost all of Foucault's works, of course, can be read fruitfully as philosophical in either or both of two ways. That means carrying out philosophy's traditional critical project in a new manner, that is historical manner, and as a critical engagement with the thought of traditional philosophers. In these both ways, his works can be actually interpreted, and we can learn many things which Foucault brings out. So, what shaped his intellectual background? That is very important. When he entered into Collège de France, that is the great university in Paris, where he got exposed to the teachings of many of the philosophers who were there at that time. And by the time he entered into that Paris University, 1946, there he listened the lectures of Merleau-Ponty and Heidegger, who are great philosophers, and also he took a special interest in Hegel and Marx through the lectures of Jean Hippolyte and Louis Althusser, who interpreted Hegel and Marx in a revised or renewed way. Okay, so all these philosopher teachers actually have a strong influence on Foucault at École de Normal, that is the Paris University. So all Foucault's earliest works, of course, are influenced by these philosophical insights that were put into or to which he was exposed as a young student of the university. So, in his writings, we will see the Heideggerian psychiatrist and also existentialism, Marxism, etc. But, however, as he matured in his thought, we will see that in his works he turned away from all these, and he actually has grown into a great personality who got a very different insight of looking into different matters of epistemology in a novel way, in new ways. So people also think that though Jean-Paul Sartre, of course, you might have heard this name when you were reading existentialism as a philosophy, which of course focuses on the being, that is the existence of human being, and they believe that human beings should be free and they will be able to execute their will. So critics think that though Jean-Paul Sartre was working outside the university system and he has no personal influence on Foucault, but it is believed that the Foucault has derived much from the teachings of Sartre or existential philosophy of Sartre, and he has some common points with Sartre, that is their sympathy for the marginal groups such as the mad, homosexuals, and prisoners, etc. And also, he was an activist like Sartre. Yet, after though he took much from the existential philosophy, he differed from Sartre in the concepts of universal intellectual and also the individual freedom and some other concepts, because Foucault never believed that individual is free at any time, because it is power structures which govern our behavior, and so we are not free actually at any point of time. And so though he took much from the what you call Sartre's ideas, he differed in privileging the subject. The subject here means the individual. So existentialism, of course, gives more value to the subject. That means the individual. So they believe in the individual's free existence, and they also believe that they have their own discretion or their will, and they will, of course, will be guided by some kinds of doctrines, and they will become universal citizens or universal intellectuals having some responsibility towards the society, etc. But all these Sartre's ideas, of course, Foucault did not agree, and of course he rejected also. But later he started working upon the extensions of these things. So other three factors, besides Jean-Paul Sartre and the philosophers that we have already mentioned, like Merleau-Ponty, Heidegger, and Althusser, etc. We have some other factors which have influenced the young Foucault while he was in university. That is, the first is the French tradition of history and philosophy of science, that is represented by George Canguilhem. So, a powerful figure in French university, and he is the man who revived the philosophy of biology. So, with combined, he made a study of biology through philosophical approaches, and Foucault was very much influenced by him. And also, he is the man who sponsored the doctoral thesis of Foucault, that is on the history of madness. And throughout Foucault's career, Cangliham, of course, was very influential. Okay. And then we have other aspects, that is the French avant-garde literature. So, especially the writings of Georges Bataille and Maurice Blanquart. These are the two writers who influenced Foucault to take interest in literature, and that is why we read him as a literary theorist or a critic also. So, here their works actually have motivated Foucault to take up interest in the literature also, and then his insights into the philosophy. Then, coming to the major works of Foucault, we can say that each of his major books is a critique of historical reason. So everything is seen from the point of view of the history. So first, he wrote some histories of madness and medicine, and his history of madness in the classical age, that is in 1961, that is published. Actually, this originated in his academic study of psychology. While he was studying psychology, this idea of writing about the history of madness, actually, as a post-structuralist critic, we have to see that Foucault feels that madness is a construction. It is nothing scientific or something, but madness is a construction. So he proceeded to actually analyze the history of madness, and he published it in 1961. And his work in actually this book is based on his work in Parisian mental hospital and his own personal psychological problems also. So, if you go into the detailed biography of Foucault, you will understand what the psychological problems actually he has. And people say that he is homosexual or gay, and we have to go into the details of his biography and know more, so that his point of view actually has developed from the personal experience. You all know that literature, of course, to some extent is a product of the personal experiences of human beings. Okay, whoever it is, writers, though we deny, sometimes the personality of the author is denied, yet we can trace out the whole influence of writing something or taking up some themes, and their interest actually gets connected with the personal life. So Foucault also, because of the psychological problems, and previously in the beginning I told you that as a student, though he was brilliant, he confronted so many psychological torments. So it's very it's evident that he might have been motivated to take up research in all these fields, and base and come up with these kinds of books like History of Madness, etc. Okay. And So it was written. You can read later if you want to know more details of this book. It was mainly written during his postgraduate when there is a hane through a succession of diplomatic educational posts in Sweden, Germany, and Poland. So when he was moving around these places, of course, he studied. A study of the emergence of the modern concept of mental illness in Europe, that is, History of Madness, is formed from both Foucault's extensive archival work and his intensive anger at what he saw as the moral hypocrisy of modern psychiatry. So he was not very much happy with the modern psychiatry. So from his unhappiness and also his intensive research on the archival archives regarding psychology, madness, etc., is what led to this publication. He brought out that standard history saw the 19th century medical treatment of madness as an enlightened liberation of the mad from the ignorance and brutality of preceding ages. So he observed that the 19th century medical treatment of madness was freed from the brutality, and also they have tried to bring in kind of liberation from the ignorance. Um, but Foucault, the new idea that the mad were merely sick and in need of medical treatment was not at all a clear improvement on earlier conception. So he did not agree with the basic idea that the mad people are basically ill and they need some kind of treatment. And the next history that Foucault published is The Birth of the Clinic. These two books are connected with the themes of history and madness. So, The Birth of the Clinic also represents a critique of modern clinical medicine. So, he provided a critique of the modern clinical medicine. And the socio-ethical critique is muted, presumably because there is a substantial core of objective truth in medicines, and so less basis for criticism. And as a result, the birth of the clinic much closer to a standard history of science in the tradition of Canguilhem's history of concepts. So these are the two important books of Foucault regarding the history and madness. And other publications, come under the group of the order of things, the order of the things. The book that made Foucault famous. This is the book which made Foucault famous, and it is actually Les Mots et les Choses. That is what is the title in French, and it is translated as The Order of Things into English. It is in many ways an odd interpolation into the development of his thought, and the subtitle of the book is An Archaeology of the Human Sciences. He gave a subtitle like this, and it suggests an expansion of the earlier critical history of psychiatry and also clinical medicine into other modern disciplines such as economics, biology, and philology. So, how disciplines cross and merge into different interdisciplinary studies we can see in this book of Foucault. And the next book is from archaeology and genealogy. So, Foucault explicitly presents the order of things, an archaeological approach to the history of thought. So, this book, The Order of Things, is actually based upon archaeology and genealogy. And after this book, that is Order of Things, he published another book that is The Archaeology of Knowledge, a methodological treatise that explicitly formulates what he took to be the archaeological method that he used not only in the order of things but also in history of madness and the birth of the clinic. So see how Foucault proceeded with what you call methodology. See, his methods are actually based on the historical, okay, and history, archaeology. They both are connected. I hope you know that. So, the all the books that Foucault published have a historical interpretation. Whatever is the thought, and he proceeds with much research into the history, so to, of course, bring out the facts, how history constructs. And for him, whatever ideas, though it be science or medicine or psychiatry, whatever it is, he thinks that it is not always the scientific temperament or the scientific basis, but they have the historical element of construction in this. So that is why he goes into the archaeology and genealogies of each and every concept. And then he actually tried to bring out the history of the prison. So when this prison concept came into existence, and how and why, etc. So in the Discipline and Punish, this was published in 1975. It's a genealogical study of the development of the gentler modern way of imprisoning criminals rather than torturing or killing them. So previously, prisons were made only to torture and kill. So he goes into the history of the prison through different ages. And then actually, the modern prison, according to Foucault, is a gentler way. It exhibits a gentler way of imprisoning criminals. And of course, he thinks that prison is without mentioning or without revealing, actually human beings are always behind the bars, or they are in surveillance, or he says that we are always under control. So prison actually need not be considered as a place where only criminals are kept and their mental or physical activities are guarded. And Foucault says that every human being, being a member of a society or a nation or a state, actually is under surveillance. And he believes that there are power structures, which govern. And for him, even a school is like a power structure, or would say examination also. So he has a different way of looking into the development of these concepts of prison or imprisonment, etc. So he considers that the modern society is a disciplinary society. So they have three primary techniques of controlling the people. They are hierarchical observation, normalizing judgment, and the examination. So it is not only in the prisons that the criminals are being guarded or observed, etc. But in a society, according to Foucault, people are always under observation, and the governments or the power structures have three primary techniques of controlling the people living in a society. No, actually, these are these are all concepts of high philosophy, because if you misinterpret this, there is a danger that we will interpret all these ideas of philosophers like Derrida, Foucault, as if they are advocating for a chaotic society where there is no order, there is no control, etc. But that is not how we should understand, because as we have seen in Aristotle's Poetics, Aristotle says that he believes in the good nature of human beings. That is why actually he says that there is no need to ban poetry or poets from the society. So in the similar manner, at the higher levels of philosophy, human being is considered to be a man with reason, or with some kind of willpower, and that is why he can, of course, sketch out his own way of behaving in the society, and where he will be behaving like a responsible citizen, or not harmful to others, but taking care of himself only. So it is not like, by criticizing the power structure, we should not interpret that Foucault or Derrida, these philosophers, are advocating for a lawless or a chaotic society, but a very highly philosophical world where each and everybody's independence is guaranteed. And of course, it sounds like a utopian, because we may not, imagine a utopian society to get established where everybody is happy. That is a different thing. But as philosophers, of course, they have contemplated on these ideas. Okay. And then lastly, we have one important work, and of course, which is also a great, what you call, rebellious ideas, and has renewed many ideas of the modern society, that is regarding the sexuality. So Foucault's history of sexuality was originally projected as a fairly straightforward extension of the genealogical approach of discipline and punish. So he wanted to explore into the history of sexuality, and how the Christian ethics of sexuality, and then the heathen, or you can say, what is say, pagan worshippers like Greece, how they have treated sexuality, and what they have thought about this, and why the modern society is very much closed, and why we have so many taboos, or why we are looking at homosexuals like gays and lesbians in a different manner, etc. So the modern civilized society's way of looking at sexuality, of course, is contemplated by Foucault very much by going into the ancient histories of sexualities also. So by tracing out in the historical manner, so you might have seen now, with reference to all the works of Foucault, it is a historical evolution that Foucault traces out. Let it be the concept of sexuality, or let it be the concept of prison, or let it be the concept of punishment, or let it be the concept of the author, which we will be looking into in his essay that is prescribed for your studies. So this much I have to share with you regarding the works of Foucault and his way of research, and what was his influence. That also I have a paragraph here. You can read the Word document. I will just WhatsApp to you. You can read, and you can take some more points for introduction to Foucault. So this is all only for your awareness and knowledge only. I've shared this. Not that you have to by heart everything regarding Foucault, but to know what exactly is Foucault's personality, and what are his post-structuralist ideas, and as well as the structuralist ideas also. And I told you once again, I'm telling, no critic will claim that I am so and so. So it is only depending upon the theories that they probe into, and depending upon the theories that they develop, we will be giving a tag for them. And of course, Foucault did not announce that he is a post-structuralist, but of course we can find the post-structuralist ideas in his lectures or in his books. So in the next class, I will be beginning the essay that is prescribed for your study. That is, what is an author? So how Foucault, being a historian, philosopher, psychologist, okay, and literary critic, will explore this idea of the author, and how he tries to define, and or how he tries to present the construction of the concept of author. We will examine in the next class. Okay. Hope you will listen to the lecture. Have a nice time.